All right, let's see who's out for the Giants. Oh, everybody. Awesome. What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Awesemo.com coming to you with my top 6 waiver wire pickups for week 6. It was such a brutal week. Week 5 was that we just had to add one extra player. Also, something kind of important happened in the Sunday night game that we needed to address ASAP. But before we do, you know it's a vibe? Clicking subscribe. That goes a long way for us here at the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel. I'm telling you right now, if we want to keep doing these videos in front of the paywall, we want to keep giving you all the great content over here for free. Just clicking subscribe. It does all the work for us. And another thing you need to check out immediately is Yahoo, but we'll talk about them a little bit later here. But first, let's start off with number 6. Coming into week 5, there were a few deeper leagues where I was desperate at running back due to massive injuries at the position. Looking at you, Christian McCaffrey. And when the waiver wire is barren in your leagues, picking up backup players based on injury concerns for their superior and hoping the news breaks your way during the week is always a solid strategy. That strategy is exactly what I was forced to employ in those few leagues with my pickup of Samaje Perine, the de facto backup runner for the Bengals, who could have stepped into a larger workload in the event workhorse starter Joe Mixon was inactive. Unfortunately, Mixon ended up playing, so it didn't feel wise to fire off such a thin play when Cincinnati routinely has given their lead back 70, 75, even 80% of the snaps. Sort of wish I had pulled the trigger, as Mixon was clearly limited with his ankle sprain, surprisingly being out-touched by Perine 11 carries to 10. And to add insult to injury, literally, Perine also tallied 4 catches for 24 yards and a score to his total, putting up 18.3 fantasy points in standard Yahoo leagues. Despite this solid outing, I view Perine as a super thin piece meant for the end of your bench in the event Mixon continues to be active. But this Bengals offense has proven to be explosive, and Joe Burrow proves each time out that he could be the real deal, which would make Perine a solid start should Mixon ever be forced to sit. And hey, if you're completely desperate and can't get one of the next few backs we'll cover in this countdown, you could do worse than an emergency start of Perine against the pathetic Lions in week 6. We've been riding the hot hand on tight ends in recent weeks, getting ahead of the curve on the likes of Dawson Knox and Dalton Schultz, who keep on producing. But there's a number of tight ends, most notably George Kittle, who have been put on the IR and left fantasy teams decrepit at that roster spot. But maybe, just maybe, a pickup of David Njoku could make some sense if you're really in a bind and are getting absolutely nothing out of the position. After all, how many times can you go to the waiver wire and grab a tight end coming off a 7-target, 7-catch, 149-yard, and a score performance like Njoku just had in week 5? Hardly ever? Yeah, that's what I thought. But here's the thing. That's always been the unspoken upside many believed Njoku was capable of for years. The former first-round pick is a freakish athlete that many salivated over coming out of the University of Miami, but in his first 4 years in Cleveland, the talent never really translated into production. But considering the elite running duo of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, the teams need to start selling out to stop, more outings close to this past Sunday could be in store for Njoku. And with Odell Beckham Jr. the only other pass game centerpiece for the Browns, more targets could be on their horizon for Njoku going forward. I wouldn't spend any fab budget or utilize any sort of waiver priority to get him, but looking specifically at next week to a decent game environment versus the Cardinals, Njoku looks like a great streaming option for scorned Kittle owners in deep leagues. Let's get the bad news for the Seahawks out of the way first. Russell Wilson busted up his finger on Thursday night and looks to be out for something in the 4 to 6 to 8 week range. Backup Geno Smith surprised many, including myself, with his performance and relief. Well, let's be serious. It's Geno Smith. There. Bad news out of the way. Now, let's talk about something good that might still exist for fantasy owners in Alex Collins. The backup to Chris Carson was sprung into first-string duty with Carson's inactive status on Thursday and immediately procured the lion's share of the carries with 15, albeit for just 47 yards. Still, he was on the field for 69% of offensive snaps in the 26-17 loss to the Rams, including some limited involvement in the passing game. This is not my favorite PPR back to target in the world, especially as DJ Dallas and Travis Homer were the ones utilized on passing downs. But barring Chris Carson's status, getting access to any back playing 70% plus of the snaps makes for a worthwhile flex play. Plus, Collins' snaps were trending up pre-Carson's injury, as he had performed well enough to garner more attention by Pete Carroll and company. So much is still to be determined here, but considering he's only rostered in 37% of 12-team Yahoo leagues, there's certainly room on your bench for a potential lead back, even if Geno Smith is his quarterback. Kadarius Toney had himself a day against a Dallas secondary that has proved more imposing than in years past. But while Toney was certainly a talking point in daily fantasy due to his cheap salaries around the industry, only 16% of Yahoo leagues currently roster this fella, making him a decent streaming option. And for all of you crazies that will accuse me of point chasing with this one, check out the absurd amount of injuries that this Giants team is dealing with on the offensive side of the ball. As if it wasn't bad enough, Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton were ruled out on Friday. Kenny Golladay was ruled out at halftime of Sunday's game with a knee injury. Oh, and let's not forget freaking Saquon Barkley and his brutal ankle injury that is bound to make him sit for some amount of time that's longer than a week. And as if that isn't bad enough, Daniel Jones could potentially be out next week barring concussion protocol. So the Giants would be lucky even to field a team going forward. But even bad teams need to put the ball somewhere, which means Toney could laughably be vaulted into wide receiver 1 status. And even if any of the other 3 Giants' main wideouts can suit up, there's no guarantee they'll be capable of taking on a full workload. That means Toney sets up as the man, or at the very least, an actual healthy body, going forward in this receiving core. Let's just copy everything I just said about the Giants in the last section and paste it in this section for Devontae Booker. If you saw the video of Saquon Barkley's ankle balloon into the size of a grapefruit, you're aware he's probably going to be out for quite some time. How long is yet to be determined, but you should have a pretty firm grasp on the timetable before you have to put bids in on Booker. But he's pretty much guaranteed to be available in even the deepest of leagues, as Booker had no business being on any roster besides a straight-up handcuff for Barkley in the event of injury, which has now happened. But with 16 carries in his first 3 quarters of relief, I gotta say, Booker looks to be the guy here in New York's backfield going forward, making him an obvious acquisition target. And going back to his early Denver days in the mid-2010s, Booker proved to be a decent enough pass catcher with 30-plus catches in limited work for 3 straight seasons. So yes, this is a brutal offense. Yes, you could be looking at Mike freaking Glennon at the helm next week. But with only Booker in the backfield, it's hard to pay any of that much mind, as the volume should certainly be there in Saquon's stead. Before we get to my number 1 pickup of the week, I wanted to talk to you about Yahoo because not only are they running some of the best contests around the entire DFS industry, many times with negative management fees, meaning they're putting money into your pocket in order to go play. It doesn't get any better than that. But even more incentive, if you're a new user, go over to Yahoo, create an account, and if you deposit $10 or more, you'll get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum completely free. A $90 value, every single thing that we offer behind the paywall, including NBA, which comes back next week. It's as simple as just heading over and making that deposit. So take advantage of that now, and we'll see you over at Yahoo. Just as I was rounding out this video, of course, a bombshell goes down in the Sunday night football game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was carried off the field by his teammates in the second half of their beatdown at the hands of the Bills with an apparent leg injury. So if you wanted to know why there are 6 players in this week countdown, Darrel Williams is the reason why, as he immediately needed to enter the conversation as your number 1 target. Now, obviously, the injury just happened, so this is a real-time reaction. But seeing him in such visible frustration doesn't bode well. We should have more information in the morning, but for all intents and purposes, it is officially Darrel Williams' season on the waiver wire this week. During Williams' 4-year tenure in Kansas City, he's never been the guy, having never eclipsed either 41 carries or 18 catches in a single season. But of course, he didn't because he was behind CEH the past year and a half. and Damian Williams before that in 2018 and 2019 before he took off for Chicago. Heck, even Le'Veon Bell had a freaking cup of coffee, showed up for a hot second to cut into Darrel Williams' workload and minimize any kind of gains you could see out of him. But with only Jerick McKinnon, the other lone back left, who will mostly mix in just on passing downs here or there, Williams just became the lead back in the Chiefs' offense. Let me repeat that. Williams just became the lead back in the Chiefs' offense. Need I say more? So get ready, because this one could require a hefty bid or automatic first waiver priority in order to attain Williams, who is available in 85% of 12-team Yahoo leagues. And those are my top 6 waiver wire pickups for week 6 of the NFL season. Let me know in the comment section below if there was somebody I missed, somebody you're more interested in picking up. Perhaps it's Marquez Callaway season. What a terrifying season that would be, but I'm sure it's a season for somebody. Not myself, but enjoy. Best of luck for this week, and don't forget to check out that Yahoo promotion we have going with them. It's as good as it gets, and best of luck this week.